If I were the CEO of a company and wanted to raise my game, go up a grade, raise my level in managing performance, what's the most important thing that I should do?
I think you should demonstrate by example as the CEO. You should be the one who says, hey, I think performance management's important. I think and explain how it matches up with the company values, and it's important for where the organization is growing. And then practice performance management. Reward good performers. Put poor performers on a performance improvement plan. Have those informal discussions. I think you really have to live performance management for the top to kind of set a value, or not set a value, set an example for the other managers in the organization. Hey, this is important, as you need discipline just like you need discipline in supply chain management and in quality and marketing. Performance management is a disciplined process, and it's a process, not an event.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the other thing, the flip side of that is, think about what a devastating message is sent if you have a senior level person within the company that seemingly puts no value on this. So you can have most of your senior leadership team that does a great job with it, but then one person who's a very visible person basically puts no time into it, takes the self-assessments of his or her team, for example, and just changes the pronouns. That sends a strong message to the rest of his organization or her organization that this is meaningless stuff. So leading by example is fundamentally critical.
One other question. Performance management is just one part of a suite of human capital, human resources activities. And talk to me a little bit about how it fits into the challenges that middle market companies face in attracting and retaining a workforce that allows them to grow their companies and compete where necessary with the big boys. How does it fit into that overall strategic demand, especially for mid-sized companies?
Go ahead.
Well, if you think about talent management as an overall concept, you have sourcing and recruiting, you have staffing, talent acquisition, you have performance management, fundamentally important part, you have development. But to your point, I think middle market companies can struggle a little bit if for no other reason than maybe the employment brand, the brand that the organization has as a place to work might not be as well known. So people think about Google or Amazon or IBM or other places like that. And when you're competing for top talent, middle market companies can have a challenge, just in terms of just being a name. But the benefit is that middle market companies also have flexibility in terms of an employee value proposition. They have flexibility to do things that sometimes those big organizations cannot do, which they could lever to their advantage.
So, in effect, by managing your people well and helping to manage their performance, you will be giving yourself a bit of an employer brand for those who know about it, and you'll be more likely to keep people when they're already there because they'll know what a great place it is. So that would be a pretty critical value. Is that right?
Yeah, I agree, Tom. Also, what's important is you're going to have business opportunities in the middle market where you're going to need human capital, you're going to need management, you're going to need employees, and these are going to be business critical strategic decisions, and you need the human capital to do that. If you don't do performance management right, you don't know who's ready for a leadership position, you don't know the skill and talent of the workforce. It can actually impede your progress in growing your revenue base, your customer base, serving the customer. Right. So it's really critical that feedback, because it's integral for training and development and succession planning and all those really important activities around developing talent.
So if your bench is shorter and your ladders are shorter and an opportunity arises, you really need to know who's ready, and you have to have been developing them all the while so that you can seize those opportunities precisely because you haven't got this big inventory of people back there.
Absolutely.
Right. It's
Absolutely.
too late if you have to look down the bench and it's time to put somebody in, you just don't have the time to make a good decision at that point. They have to be ready to go. You don't have 3 years, you don't have 5 years, you need the talent right now. So you don't want to be in that position.
We talk about the hard facets of performance management, but one of the things to keep in mind is there are an awful lot of benefits that relate to the culture, that relate to the levels of trust that you can find between a manager and his or her direct reports. If done really well, even when somebody is not doing so well, if they're truly trying to improve, doing a good job with performance management can do a great job, not only of helping that performance improve, but of building a strong level of trust within that relationship. And trust, again, across the large organization is a really important thing.
In terms of training and developing managers, and Larry made this point earlier, you know, it's really important that, you know, we all make errors in terms of evaluating people. We like people who are like us. We might have a performance incident that occurs rather recently that was significant, and so then we have a tendency to overrate a person. So we really need to, and all managers, employees are susceptible to that. So we really need to do something called calibration as part of the performance management process, where the managers get together, look at their ratings, discuss, you know, what a 5 means in terms of the company, you know, how, for example, Larry evaluated someone who got a high rating versus Ray evaluated someone who got a high rating, to make sure we're on the same plane. I mean, it takes time, but it's worth the discipline to do that, because we can ensure we get uniform ratings using the same standards.
So what I'm hearing is that middle market companies have a critical need for stronger performance management to build the culture, build the employer brand, retain and develop the talent they're going to need for the opportunities they have. They also have a critical advantage and disadvantage. The disadvantage is they're not likely to have large HR staffs. The advantage is they're not likely to have large HR staffs, and so that they can perhaps, even better than big companies, do a better job of connecting performance management to corporate performance and to the actual day-to-day work and the ongoing strategy of a business. And they can do that by walking the talk from the top, putting enough process around it to make sure it's objective, it's calibrated, making sure that performance management isn't just a one-time end-of-the-year report card, but is a continuous kind of feedback and recalibration. And doing those things in a context of trust and moving forward can, and the data show it, actually drive performance forward, revenue growth, competitive advantage, and even employment growth in middle market companies. We've covered a lot, but are there any key topics that we've missed?
Yeah, there's two things I guess I would say, and maybe the first one we've underscored a little bit, but that is performance management is everybody's business. Human resources or a human resources function or a person can provide thought leadership, but it's something that everybody needs to be doing well. The second one is, if you're reluctant, and I know there's a natural reluctance to be telling somebody that they need to be doing a better job, but I genuinely believe that most people know when they're not doing as good as they could be doing, and I think most people want to do better. So if you approach it that way, then view it as an opportunity to help somebody become better at what they're doing and feel better about themselves.
Ray, Larry, thanks very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.